Top of the top, hvac. We out here in New York City. Getting to it. We on our grind. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, help me build this community up. Each one teach one. We're gonna learn this together. Well, I already know it, but you always learn. Nobody knows everything in this field. So what we got a HVAC basic maintenance today, HVAC 101. We using a carrier weather maker for our subject today. We're gonna do, we're just going over basic maintenance procedures and whatnot like that, and condenser components. So as you can see, first thing on the maintenance, what you want to do is you want to look at your condenser coil. You want to visually inspect that, both sides. You want to make sure your coil is not clogged or dirty or anything like that. That looks pretty decent. Because as you know, dirty and clogged condenser coils, that'll give you head pressure problems, especially in the summer when you're dealing with high head pressures anyway. Secondly, you want to make sure your blades are good. So you just want to do an overall visual inspection before you even touch anything. Make sure your blades is good. If you can, get a hose, a little bit of water. You know, unless you're doing a pressure washing, you don't really want to put condenser cleaner on it. So if you can, get a little garden hose, little soap and water or something like that. Make a small solution, rinse this off. If you don't have no water, then just leave it. If it's not dirty, then you want to go to your evaporator. Before you get to your evaporator, you want to check your economizer screens. Make sure your economizer working. This is an economizer motor for you guys that don't know. So what happens is, when it's in energy saving mode, instead of using mechanical cooling, if the outdoor air is good enough, it's gonna open up this damper in here. It's a damper in there that's controlled by this motor, and instead of using mechanical compressor cooling, it is just use the outdoor air to cool the indoor space. That's only when the outdoor weather is suitable. I believe, 55 degrees or something of that nature. Don't quote me on that. It's around that area somewhere. In the summertime, that shouldn't be open though, because we got 70, 80, 90, 100 degrees out here, and you don't want to let that into your conditioned space. So your economizer, for the most part, is going to be closed in the summertime, but you still want to visually inspect these screens, make sure they're not dirty or clogged up. If they are, get them clean and put them back in. Then you want to go to your evaporator coil. My evaporator coil is not that dirty in this case, but I am going to still use a evap foam, no rinse evaporator coil cleaner. You don't have to rinse it off. The condensate from the evaporator will rinse it off itself. So what you want to do is, I just want to spray a little bit of that on it, just in the dirty areas. Coil ain't that bad. Get that in some of the dirty areas, like that. Okay. It's gonna self-rinse off by itself. And you know, you just want to make sure your evaporator is nice and clean. Like I said, if it's dirty, you need to wash it. Now we're gonna move on to the drain. Drain right here, drain line. I remove that. Remove my vent, my vent, which has a cap on it. What I do with my drain is, I got this right here. So what I do is, I get like very hot water. I put my tablets in here and I make like a water treatment solution. I stir it up. So now this water is treated with this pan stuff. So once we get that going, what we'll actually do is pour that into the drain pan. Wait, there's a bee over here. I didn't bring my wasp spray with me. Get out of here, bee. Don't you just hate that? Bees and wasps when you're doing fucking maintenance. So what you want to do is take this solution. You want to pour it. You want to get in your drain. You see? It's my drain pan down there. You want to pour this into your drain pan. So what this is going to do is it's going to wash out any dirt or anything like that. And you see, it's coming out from here. So my drain is pretty much clear for the most part. What I do is, but what you guys want to do is when you're dealing with any drain with air conditioning, you want to have a wet vac. You want to get your wet vac or your nitrogen. With nitrogen, you're just gonna blow it out. So if I had nitrogen, I'll stick it here somewhere, and I'll stick it here, and it'll just blow out everything. A lot of times, I don't feel like lugging that heavy ass nitrogen tank everywhere. So what I'll do is I'll just get a wet vac. I got a wet vac. Let's see if we can see it from up here. I don't know if we can see it from up here, but oh, there it goes. See, I got a wet vac, and what I'll normally do is take my wet vac and I'll hook my wet vac hose up to this skinny clear hose and get you a hose, any size, doesn't matter the size. Got foam tape wrapped around this side so it could go into my hose of my wet vac. And then what you want to do is just turn your wet vac on, take this hose and just sweep across your drain pan, and that'll suck up any sludge or any debris that may be inside your drain pan. And then what you want to do is do the same thing over here. You want to vacuum out this, you want to vacuum out that, you want to hold this part, vacuum out here so it's sucking in. You know, play with it a little bit, and your drain is good. And don't forget, when you walk away, you always want to prime your drain, which means you want to leave a little something in there, especially if your drain is on the positive side of your fan. My fan is right here. My fan is right in this section right here, so that means my fan is blowing this way, so it's on the positive side of my drain, which means there's a chance it won't drain because the fan is blowing air this way. So that's why you have to prime it. That way it already has water in it. That way the water has no problem flowing through the trap with the fan on. If not, the water will just sit there, and that's when you'll hear that, that funny bubbling sound, but you won't be draining, and then eventually you'll get a leak down into your space. Then you move over here. And remember, guys, I got my disconnect switch off, so please don't kill yourself. And then you want to move over here to your fan section. Then when you access your fan section, first you want to visually inspect it, of course, make sure there's no cracks in the belt. You want to check the belt, make sure there ain't no cracks in there. This belt, the tension is pretty good. I think they said it should go in about 1/4 inch on each side if you do like this. You want to inspect your pulleys. You want to make sure your pulleys are not grooved, because then that'll make your belt slip. It'll cause slippage on your belt, and then you're opening up doors to other problems. With these pulleys, normally I'll keep this belt level with the adjustment of the pulley. You see how the belt is tucked inside the pulley? Normally I like my belt flush with the edge of the pulley, but we're gonna leave it like this because it looks like it was adjusted to match this motor amperage. Whenever you guys are dealing with fans and belts, always remember, if you have an adjustable pulley like this, you can adjust the pulley and you can make this belt flush with the edge of this pulley. Just remember that when you do that, now this fan is gonna turn faster. So if you do one spin on this to close it, that's gonna raise the amperage of this motor. You have to be very careful when you're doing that, because minor adjustments will raise this amperage past the nameplate. You don't want to do that, because then you're gonna overheat, and then you're gonna have motor problems. No cooling. You're gonna have service calls. So that's with the belt. You just want to make sure the belt is not cracked. If you do run into a dry belt and it's dry but it doesn't have any cracks on it yet, and you don't have a spare, what you could do is just take soap and water on a rag and just run it through this, and then that'll give the belt a little bit more life before you're able to change it. But in this case, this belt is good, so we're leaving it. The tension is good, the amperage is good on it. Electrical. You want to visually inspect your contactors. You want to make sure your contactor is not pitted. You see this? This is pitted a little bit up inside there. Pardon that blur. But that's pitted in there. All three of these contactors should be changed. All three of these contactors should be replaced because it's pitted up there. It's burning out, see? So we're going to put that on my paperwork. Next maintenance, I recommend to change those. And with the electrical, you just want to do a visual inspection. You don't want to touch nothing too much because sometimes this shit comes loose and you don't know where the fuck it goes. Now you got to spend a half an hour looking at the diagram, figuring out where the wire goes. So if you just do a visual inspection, make sure everything's tight, make sure nothing's loose, broken, you should be all right, especially if the unit was working already before you started your maintenance. You just want to, you want to visually inspect everything. If you want to do a test run, what you'll do is just jump out a wire from this is for this carrier unit. Every unit has different procedures, but for most units, if you want to turn condensing on for this unit, just to check it real quick and make sure it comes on, what you'll do is just take a wire from R to Y and you'll jump power because it's 24 volts in here. So basically you're going to put that 24 volts to this and that's going to complete a low voltage circuit, assuming low pressure switches and high pressure switches and fire alarms are all closed. Your fan should come on when you do that. And the same thing with the heating. If you go to W, your furnace should kick on and you should be able to make sure heating is operating on the unit that you're working on. Quick hint, if you ever go on a service call that has multiple units down at the same time, one of the first things you want to do with that building is check your fire alarm, because the fire alarm is what's normally hooked up to all the ACs. Normally that happens in commercial places. Like I said, if you go to a commercial call and if they got like 10 units and everything is down, the first thing you want to do is check your fire alarm. Make sure your fire alarm system or your smoke alarm system don't got all your air conditioners off. So this is a 2-stage unit. So like I said, you can go from R to that's going to turn the first compressor on, then R to Y2, that'll kick the second stage on. Boom, once that works, you know your compressors are good. If we're in the summer, we're doing the summer maintenance, but if this was winter, what we'll do is we'll come over here to the heating section, we'll check amperage on this inducer motor, make sure it's operational, wipe all this off, clean all this up, we'll vacuum all inside the burner section. What I normally do is I'll remove that burner section, clean it, wipe it down. You want to sandpaper your flame sensor. It's flame sensors in there. So you want to sandpaper all that. You want to sandpaper the spark igniter. And you want to make sure, there's no debris or dust in there like that. So that was that was a basic rundown of how we do the maintenance. That was basic. Sometimes, of course, you're going to get a bit more detail, but that was just a basic rundown of how we out here doing these maintenances on these units. Like the channel, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and follow the grind. Holla at me.